Hello and welcome to our very first video on YouTube. Let's give you guys a little introduction. We are Lumia Media, a media production company located right in between Lucerne and Zurich, and we specialize in car photography, which brings us to a major component of this video. My name is Mike and I mostly work with luxury car dealerships, collectors, and from time to time also with car manufacturers such as Skoda, which you will get to see more of later on. But let's talk about the star of today's video. You've probably seen it in the title already, but today we're going to take a look at the Tamron 35-150 f2 to f2.8, one of the most interesting lenses currently available for Sony E-mount. But since it comes with a price tag of roughly $2,000 depending where you live, it is definitely not a lens you would just go and buy without giving it some consideration first, or at least that's not what I would do. So I contacted Tamron Switzerland, or also known as Perrault Image, the official distributor for Tamron lenses in Switzerland, and they agreed to let us test out their newest lens for you guys. And just as a disclaimer, no, they don't have any influence on my opinion about the lens. Also, just for your information, almost everything in this video was filmed with the Tamron, except for the scenes where you actually see the lens because we obviously only had one of them. But enough formalities, let's get going. So let's start off with the first impression when I took the lens out of the box. I have to say, I was slightly disappointed at first and also a little bit confused. This is a $2,000 lens that comes without a lens bag, pouch, whatever you want to call it. I usually shoot with Sony or Sigma art lenses and they always come with a transport bag, no matter if it's a $600 Sigma art lens or a $2,500 G-Master lens. But after I took its protective surrounding off, the first thing I noticed was that it was really quite big and heavy. It weighs in at 1,165 grams and comes in at a length of almost 16 centimeters when at 35 millimeters and almost 20 centimeters when at 150 millimeters without the lens hood on. The lens also comes with customizable buttons, an autofocus manual focus switch, a USB-C connection, and last but not least, a lock button to prevent the lens from extending, which I think is a great feature. Overall, I have to say that the build quality feels good and I don't really have anything to complain about. But let's switch to a more practical environment, starting off with a little introduction of our model today. So hello guys, welcome to the field test with the Tamron today. We are going to shoot this Porsche 996 GT2, also known as the Widowmaker, in this beautiful landscape. As you can see, we still have a little bit too much sun, but we cannot change this right now. We are going to show you today what kind of versatility you can achieve with this lens, since normally you would always shoot with a 24-70, and now we are going to show you what a 35-150 means and what you can achieve with this lens. Okay guys, so let's get into Lightroom. We're gonna have a look at some photos now together. Just as information, most of the pictures that I am presenting here will also be provided to you as RAWs, so you can have a proper look at them yourself. Also keep in mind that most of them are shot on the A7R4, so 100% crop on the A7R4 is a totally different subject than 100% crop on a A7 III, for example. And also, just so I said it, no, you are not allowed to use these photos as your own photos and upload them to Instagram or something. They're just for the purpose of you being able to take a look how the lens actually performs. So we're gonna have a look at the major topics for every lens, which is sharpness, chromatic aberrations, and how well it handles direct light, or like generally how the optics are. So here I have some photos that you can have a great comparison on. So I would say the lens is very sharp throughout all of its focal length. Like from 35 to 150, everything is super sharp, already wide open. For example, this here, this is shot at f2, and this is f4. As you can see, f4 obviously is just going to be a little bit sharper. But for f2, for a zoom lens, this is already extremely sharp. And also, like, just take a look here at on the tire, because you also have to consider that f2 is not going to be like the distance of focused area is not going to be as large as for the f4. But yeah, this is also an image that I always love to show for the sharpness of this lens. I mean, look at this. Isn't this? I love things like this. Also, took a little detail shot here, and I just love it. Like, look at the sharpness that the lens provides. Like, look at all these little droplets, and I mean, this is 100% crop. Like, you see how far we are cropping in. This is also at 35mm f4, super sharp. So when it comes to chromatic aberrations, I don't really have good examples of it, because I haven't really noticed much. Like, look, this would be a perfect example of chromatic aberrations, for example, but no, this is shot at 70mm, or almost at 70mm, like f2.5, wide open, as you can see here. Beautiful bokeh, nice bokeh balls, everything. You can see the tiniest amount of chromatic aberration, like very, very little here, but it's like something like this is 100% crop. This is nothing that, I mean, we're talking about this tiniest bit here, nothing that you would ever be able to recognize just by looking at a photo, you know. So, sharpness great, chromatic aberrations great. So let's get to the point that is unfortunately not so great, and that is how the way that the lens handles direct light. Since it has so many glass elements, it is very sensitive to light, like to direct light. I mean, look at this. I have these spots here, like easily correctable, obviously, but still, like these little spots here, and the sun stars are also kind of very aggressive. This was shot at f4, so they look very aggressive. Also here, at night, the bokeh balls get the slightest bit onion ringish, but I mean, these were Christmas lights, so it is not the best reference in my opinion. Also very small, so you would still not be able to notice. And when it comes to something like here, the bokeh balls are just perfectly smooth and fine, and nothing onion ringish at all in a normal shooting setting, I would say. But let's get to the bad thing. When like, for example, here we shoot into the sun, evening. I mean, this will still go through as some artistic flares. This is still a usable shot, in my opinion. It's also purposely too bright so you can see it. But here, for example, it is just starting to be a little too much. And I also shot some pictures of my girlfriend right around midday, I would say, and shot it purposely right in the sun. Obviously, I would never shoot like this if it wasn't for this review, but like, I mean, look at this. What is this? This is just like very weird flares. But I mean, if you know how to use the lens, it is not a big deal to just shoot a little bit differently, and it will be all just fine. So, would I buy the lens? Well, actually I did buy the lens right after I had to send it back to Perrault Image, and it will act as my main workhorse in the future. The lens has its downsides, yes. It doesn't handle direct sunlight very well, resulting in weird flares and ghosting in some cases, and the lens is also quite big and heavy, which honestly isn't a big deal to me at all, but might be to some of you guys. Also, the lens has some distortion, especially on the tele end, but again, not that big of a deal for me personally, since it is gone with just a single click in Lightroom. What I care about way more is the versatility the lens provides with its focal length. It literally changed my way of shooting within a couple of days of using the lens. Also, the sharpness of the lens really impressed me, comparing with other zoom lenses that I've used and owned before. And to me, what matters most is sharpness, autofocus performance, and versatility, since I'm mostly in somewhat of a hurry while shooting and don't have the time to switch lenses all the time. I would definitely recommend this lens to everyone that does a lot of car photography, events, and portraits. I hope this video was helpful if you're looking to buy the lens, even though this wasn't the normal lens review and more focused on the practical side of things. Also, don't forget that you can have a look at the RAWs if you want to take a closer look at the optical performance of the lens yourself. If you have any questions regarding the lens, since I own it, you can just send me a message, whether on Instagram, YouTube, wherever you want, and we will get into that. Also, thank you a lot for watching. If you liked it, please give us a thumbs up. And since this was our first video, please give us some critique. Like, we usually do videos for clients, yes, but like this, it is a very weird experience also for me. So if you did enjoy it, we would really like the feedback, and have a great day.